about to play, just from your phone. I'll just play something, and then when that's done, we'll call it good, if that's all right.
See if I can get that running.
Thank
well.
So before we get started, I'd just like to again say if anyone's here and you are not actual ever-growing tiny email list of people who care about this, please make sure that you come up and add yours to my little Google Doc before you leave, and I can keep you informed about this. This is an ongoing project. I am committed to doing this once a semester in perpetuity, so it's going to be a few expect, and also I can let you know when I play. I play several formal concerts here on a given semester, and I also play local clubs and stuff, not that much, but some. There's this new opportunity. I'm on the second and fourth Mondays down here at a place called the Golden Road, and that's like a sit-in kind of session. So if you want to stay in touch with that kind of stuff, make sure I get your email before you leave. We functioning?
Go ahead, set it on. See it.
So, yeah, let me play a little bit, and that'll kind of get us all in the room together. That was a improvised exploration of some cool sounds. So for those who don't know, formally, my name is Jay Runson-White. I am the director of the guitar program here at the University of Toledo. I play this thing. I've been studying guitar. I've been trying to understand this piece of real estate since 1977, and I'm still mystified by it on a daily basis. And spent considerable time at the feet of really, really great masters and teachers. I was very fortunate. I graduated high school in '87 from St. Francis up the road here. I went to Boston, to Berklee College of Music. I did my undergrad there, and then I went and got a master's at the New England, which is also in Boston. I got to study with Mick Goodrick and Charlie Banakis and Jerry Bergonzi, just to name some names many won't know. But in the world of jazz, those are very well-known folks. And I stayed in Boston 15 years, swearing I'd never come back to Toledo. And I met my other half, and we were wed in 90, whatever, 2, 6, something like that. And then we had our daughter in 2000, and suddenly the city went from being like sexy and being rusty and loud and unsafe feeling. For my daughter, infants changed my perspective. So we cast around where to go, and I decided to give up all my gigs and stuff on the East Coast. By that time I was teaching and playing all over, up and down there. And then home, and I started an Aikido dojo, which is important to me, an aspect of my life that's still going. And then it turned out that the then chair of the music department brought their kid into my martial arts school for lessons. I had quit playing guitar. I was playing shakuhachi flute to experience breath and Zen and all this. And then, hey man, good to see you. And then it turned out that he mentioned that there had a jazz program had emerged whilst I was gone that I had no idea about. So I got a guitar, I tried to remember, came and sat in with the guys, and long story short, I got hired in, I think, '08 or something like that, '05, somewhere around there. And I've been here ever since, and happily so. So other interests I have, I'm very involved in the Buddhist Temple of Toledo. I'm one of the And so I have kind of a mindful meditational concept about how I play and how I enjoy playing, and that may influence some of what we do here as well, okay? So in thinking about what might be useful, this is obviously a very diverse crew. There's a lot of different experiences here, from quite beginning to people who already hold degrees in the art. And I thought, well, what would be useful? And there's so much that's useful, it's hard to pick a topic, honestly. But I think what I would like to share with you a little bit today is to talk a little bit about ears. Let's do an ear check and see how your ears are. Because end of the day, it's you, your instrument, and your ability to hear that is actually what carries or fails your gig, okay? You can't do this and be musical. So when we think about how we play, it's very important to interrogate how you know what it is that you're doing when you play the guitar, okay? Go over this with all my students, that most guitar players, when you start, what you do is you think of grip. You grab something, and it's like the little triangle thing, and you grab the thing, and then you strum the thing, and then you get used to that grip, right? You get some riffs going, and so you've got grip and riff. Okay, and then for soloing, you learn a little pattern, and then you kind of do stuff around there. Guitar players, there's a massive ceiling there. Okay, that's the easy kind of low-hanging fruit. And that's frankly, the guitar is playing you. You're doing things that the guitar naturally wants to do. And I'm all about it. It's great, you know. And for a lot of people, that's playing. But for those who are interested in seeing what other options there are, you have to learn, you train yourself really to relate to what you're doing on the guitar with more than just a grip and a sound and a riff, okay? There are cool sounds, but how do you actually become free? That whole thing that I just played is just pulled out of the air right now, and a ton of experience and a lot of ears. It's not random. I'm hearing all that stuff, okay? So, not that you have to play like that, better off for you if you don't, honestly, but people will like your music more if you stay tuned. But that aside, the other thing that you want to be able to do when you hear a thing is to be able to hear gravity. You have to be able to learn to hear the gravity in music, okay? Music is a play of energy, and the energy pools into gravity centers. And then there's sort of adjacent and far, and there are kind of cascading towards and repelling from these gravity centers. And it doesn't matter if you're listening to Grateful Dead or Johann Sebastian Bach or John Coltrane, you know, pick your idiom, pick your music. It's all about gravity and how the tones are shifting and moving, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, if I set this pitch into the air, let's do that one. I got a little looper thing. So that's a C, okay? Now if I tune into that as the root, that's like the gravitational center for right now, okay? This pitch, that's the fifth, right? And what the fifth does, try to stay with me on this if you can, okay? What the fifth does, if I play it by itself, if I say, and I go, it wants to go there. Okay, the foundational move in Western music, okay, you set up. It doesn't matter how you voice it. Bum, bum, 5, 1, bum, 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 bum. Anyway, so that melodically, if I have that, the G wants to go to the C, but if I play it as an interval, it doesn't want to go anywhere. It's very stable, that sound, okay? If I go, and we all know that as a power chord, probably, right? What's powerful about it is that fifth's power rains right down and supports the root. The root is like strengthened by the fifth. The fifth basically is providing ballast and support to that root. So it's deeply reinforced here. Can you relate to that? Now, the other element here that we haven't introduced yet is this. Okay? It's the third. Okay? Now the third, that's major, that's minor, and that is your basic yin and yang, we say, in music. Okay? You've got a stable major sound, it's just content to be as it is, and you have a stable minor sound that also is quite content with itself. It's a little more melancholy about it, but it's happy with where it is. It stays. This structure by itself doesn't have any gravitational movement inherent in it. This one, So major and minor chords are like the vast majority of chords people play, generally. In relationship to a key, the one major chord is the center of it. But okay, does that make sense to everybody? So the first thing that I would really recommend that you do is you get very good at, maybe you could record yourself, like you'll play this C, this G, and this major third, okay? Now I should try to, yeah. So if I do, okay. And then the minor one is this one. Okay. Now, just close your eyes for a second, and I'm just going to ask you about your emotional life. And I would like you to just close your eyes for a second, bring your awareness to your body, maybe count, I'm a Zen guy, be aware of your breathing for a minute, okay? Close your eyes, just tune into your body. Just notice how your body's feeling right now. Sit comfortably, there's no obvious stress in your body. Just kind of check it out. And then now you are invited to a movie, okay? And you're sitting in the theater, you have no idea what this movie's gonna be. Is it a horror show or a comedy or some kind of romance you'd rather not be bothered with? You have no idea, okay? But then, in the darkness, it begins with this sound. Now, what emotion comes up for you when you hear that? Positive. Yeah. It's very major. So we can anticipate that this is perhaps a hopeful movie, at least the opening scene, right? Maybe we've got a pastoral Aaron Copland landscape with the farm and the healthy family and the dogs barking, happy. Okay. It's like that. Now, again, close the eyes, let that one kind of wash away from you, and just notice where this, where does this hit you in your body? Where is the hit? And what does it feel like? What's the emotion that fits it? Floating, dread, little touch. Okay? So now the way I would say it is yin and yang. Okay, this is yang, this is very yin. You can call it happy face, sad face. You can call it like dawn or dusk. But I want you to just feel in your body immediately where this hits you, okay? Play all different keys, and all you want to do is just check your feeling out and go, is this happy or sad? Is this major or minor? And close your eyes and just see if you can, tell you what, if you think it's major, put a thumb up in the air. If you think it's minor, put a thumb down. But keep your eyes closed. Except me. Okay, here we go. Ready? Close the eyes. Here it comes. Okay, that's major. Here comes the next one. That's minor. Stay with it now. Close your eyes. Trust your feelings here. Don't try to calculate this. Just try to feel it. It's major. Here's minor. You feel it? A lot of us are not tuned into this, so let's pay attention to it again. Close your eyes, check it out. Is this major or minor? 10 out of 10. Okay, now listen again. It's major. Okay, now I'm going to change it. Listen to it this time. No fooling you, but still major. Okay. Major. Minor would be this. Major. Yeah. But I play the same one back and forth. Okay. So here's what I'm going to recommend everybody does. If this isn't immediately obvious to you, then this needs to become immediately obvious to you, all right? You deserve to give yourself the gift of being able to tell the difference between salt and pepper. If you're all going to be a cook, this is your basics, the exotic spices of Ohio, salt and pepper, okay? And you want to be able to hear them really, really, really strongly. Now, how would you work on this? Well, we've got all kinds of nice, nifty things in our modern age, like tape recorders. Or voice memos on your phone. What I used to do is we had these Marantz decks, and you could like record on it, and it had a little speaker, it was cool. But you could just take this one shape, like I have here, 1, 3, 4, okay? Or 1, 3, 2. That's the root 5 and the flat 3, a third, okay? And just like put your phone on, and just like record the sound, and go like, major, minor, random, pick one, major, okay? And you fill, I don't know, say 20 minutes of a recording that when you're driving around your car, you can put it in your speakers and it can come through the system, and you can do a little bit of ear training, right? You can train yourself. This is not just something that you either can't do bad, it's like having green eyes or blue. No, no, no. An average person of middling capacities can train and become actually quite musical, okay? Does it make sense? So the first thing is not like shredding a face melting riff, but honestly, that's kind of like, it's not nutrient dense. If you can't hear yin from yang in its most basic form, you are not worthy to play the shredding, face-melting solo, except for fun, and enjoy it. I'm all about fun, I like it, you know. But when you just fun into actually cracking the code of this thing, it's about the ears first. It's about your feeling. You have to feel emotionally what's going on, not just like blitz through it and like kind of sloppily, okay? If you can get to where you can hear major and minor without too much stress, and maybe start just in one tonality, like you stay there on G and just kind of nail that, and get to where you can tell the difference between those pretty easily, then you can maybe like go a half step up. And you got to train yourself to be able to hear that third. Because when you're actually playing, if you have to think about what you're doing, you're kind of doing. We all hopefully know that, okay? I have thought a lot about this little piece of real estate here. I can outthink or think as well as most. But when I'm actually playing, if I'm coming from my intellect, it's not interesting at all. Definitely not to me. Surely not to you. But if I'm coming from my heart and my hara and my intuition and my ears, then a little intellect is helpful to guide. It just puts a little finish on it. You know what I'm saying? It's not the main thing. So being able to identify major from minor, not having to pull out an abacus and calculate, not having to sing in your head, okay? If any of you have done like classical ear training, solfeggio kind of stuff. Do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do, where you kind of look at the page and sing it. Killing, and that's designed for somebody who's going to play like third violin. They're going to look at the page and shred it down because you have to take it from the page to the instrument to play it, okay? But if you're going to improvise and compose, it's not the right way to train your ears if that's all you do. I'm not just trying to produce it. I'm trying to hear a thing and produce it. And I'm trying to hear what you say and respond to it. So jazz music is like a creative sound sculpture that's created in real time with all the musicians. And we're all contributing to this real time. And the currency is not how fast you can play at all. It's like how sensitive are you? How in the conversation can you be, right? So major, minor. Does anybody have any questions? Is everything transparently obvious so far? Okay. Let's push forward again. I'm just going to help you become aware of some more things. Okay. Now, this pitch here, this tonic. Okay. There are more than just the fifth and the major or minor third. There's a lot of other notes. And each one of them has an emotional, okay? So if I were to play this note, okay, that is a half step away from the root. That's a half step above the root C. Okay, now that, if you close your eyes and feel your body, let's see what we get. Okay? It doesn't feel like this. It doesn't feel like this. It feels rather like this. Okay? So you got the root, and a half step above that root, meaning one fret, is as, that is as tense as you could get. Okay? One half step away from the root is just like, it's a dissonant inner. Okay? Now the emotional quality for this, I'll just tell you mine, this is anger. This sound right here, this is not happy. Okay? That's stable. Minor third, it's stable on the dark side, but stable. The major third, that's stable in a happy place. But this here, that's like, okay, that's grit your teeth and kind of like, that's wrath, you could say. Okay. But now, interestingly, a half step above, I said there's the root, there's the fifth. If I go one half step above that fifth, okay, come on, you can do it. Now that, yeah, see that's A flat, okay, that's a half step away from the fifth. Remember, we got the root and the fifth, okay? The fifth gives power to the root. A half step up from that, I'm saying is wrath. You might feel it differently, I'm telling you how I feel. Then a half step above the fifth, that's grief. Okay, it's, you know what I'm saying? Just feel it, right? Like here. lungs to go there, but it can't. Like, no, you can't go there. It wants, okay? This one, angry. It too. It's got a place it wants to go, but it's angry about it. This is grief. This is happy. This is minor, but okay with itself. Major and add grief. Right? Or take the major and add anger. Okay, that's how I hear things. There's a to the thing, there's like a gravitational center, and then there are different pitches that are in relationship to that gravity center. And the tension that they have to get to the gravity center has an emotional quality to it. This is the main point. It's not just fingers and dots and strum patterns. That's cool. Why does music move you? Like, I can remember when I was a kid, like the first music that I heard that actually just rang my bell personally, like it was a visceral thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like Back in Black, that record for me, like that, school or whatever. But that sound, like there's a part of me that is being expressed in that record somehow. And that emotional juice, if that wasn't there, none of us would probably be in the room right now. You know? But what happens is you study kind of depressed in favor of intellectual understanding or patterns. You see the latest shred guy on Instagram, you feel inferior for life. You know, it gets kind of wonky. But actually, if you just get in touch with your own body and with your own feelings, guys, right? You get in touch with your feelings. It's like this is life. This is a deeply alive thing to do. This music thing, right? Like, why is it so compelling? Well, because you're compelling, and it's a part of you. And this is an aspect right here. You can be angry. I know it's within you. You can be sad. I know it's within you, right? Does that make sense? So, like if I think about this on the board, you don't necessarily have to read music to be able to decode this, but you've got a pitch here, and this is C, okay? And I'm saying that's the root. Okay, that's the root. And then this is G, and that's the fifth. Okay? And the fifth's power kind of goes to support the root, buffs up the root. That's C and that's G. Okay? And then what we said next was that you've got this thing in the third. Okay, that's an E. And that root 5, 3, in any combination, it doesn't matter if you take an orchestra and have the flutes play this thing way up there, and the bass cello play it way down there, and the opera singer sings in the middle. It doesn't matter. If those three notes are in the air at the same time, it will have that stable F. If I take this and put an E flat there, E flat, it's a flat third. Okay? So if I have my root 3 and 5, that's a major triad. If I have my root flat 3 and 5, that's a minor triad. What do I mean root 3, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, major third. 1, 2, flat 3, flat 3. Does that make sense? Now then, what I begin to talk about next is that you sort of pillar here, this root, and I said, well, you know what? If I take the one right above it, that's a C and that's a D flat, okay? That tension there, that's anger. For me. You might hear it differently, that's cool. Every monster, I've been lucky to play with several, many, they all know this stuff intuitively. They might not relate to it precisely the way I do, but they relate to it precisely. It's not vague, okay? You can't function beyond a certain level if you can't hear these things. That's just how it is. So then, I also said that I've got fifth here, this is G, okay? And if I go a half step above that, that's G, and this is A flat, okay? That's grief. That's the morning, not like sun, grieving morning, right? Now there's an interesting relationship. Both of these are a half step away from these pillars. And what you're going to see as we go on here, everything relates to those pillars as gravity centers. Now, don't be confused. I'm not right now talking about keys. In the key collections of chords also have gravitational maneuvers. That's why when you play 1, 4, or 5, 1, it's fulfilling. It feels right. There's gravitational movement between chords. But we're not there yet right now. I'm just talking about the root and then all 12 pitches in relationship to that root. Taste what you're eating. This is the real question here. When I play that stuff, can you feel it? Right? And then just because the auditory signals are getting in your ear doesn't mean you can hear it. You have to actually train yourself to be able to hear. It's called ear training. That's a real thing. A buddy of mine I went to high school with became a gourmet chef, right? And he went abroad, and they do palate training. So like in that realm, the final exam, so to speak, is the chef master makes a dozen different sauces. You take a taste of each sauce and you write out what's in it. Because your palate is trained. Now me, I'm a goofball. I either like it or I don't. That's enough. But him, he puts aside whether he likes it or not, and he can decode what's in there with a lot of acuity. Okay? And the athlete is aesthetic training. How fast does it take you to throw a punch? Well, if you train, it'll get real fast. If you don't, it won't be, compared to someone who does. Right? In this case, this is our dojo. We're talking now here about guitar food. Right? Guitar food. We're ear training Zen. Now, interestingly, if I take the pitch right below C, okay, that pitch is B, and the parallel to that is the pitch right below G, that's F sharp. Let me play these for you, and I want you to tune into the fact that you've got these two poles, and then like a half step up from each, they both want to go here, and they're close, but they're not the same. And then a half step below those two poles wants to go up to that pitch, and they're like each other, but they're not the same. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Get our pitch again. Okay. So for reference, that's our major scale. Okay. Here's my root. A half step above it is anger. Okay. Here's the 5. A half step above that is grief. And why does that speak when David Gilmour plays those cool things? You know, well, this is why. Now, a half step below, that wants to go here, right? Can you hear it? And a half step above or below the 5th. So let me tell you what I think those emotions are. You're on a quest to find your own. Enough of me spoon feeding. This feeling is close to this feeling. This one to the root. This one to the 5th. Just like this one to the root or to the 5th. Try this. What about here? 8th fret. That's a C. Okay. A half step above is D flat. anger. A half step below is B. What is that for you? How does it feel for you when you hear that? The fifth is here, that's G. Half step above it. Right, it's that one. What's the half step below it? There's all these collections of sound. What are those things? They're groups of emotions. They all relate to the gravity center. And if I go a whole step above, that's a D. This one, the D flat, okay, how do I say this right? That's so close to the root that there's a lot of friction there. This one, that D note, it's like a geosynchronous orbit. It's still attracted to the root, but it's content, it can stay there. This one, the flat tooth, that's angry. This one, it floats, but it still wants to go down, but it's okay to sit there. Feel it? And if I take a whole step above the fifth, it's the same thing. That's an A. Or a whole step below. So if you kind of do the math on this, you end up with the root, the five, and the major or minor third. And then every other pitch is either a half step away, above or below, or a whole step below from the root or the fifth. So like everything is in there. If you can get to where you hear chords and you can hear what you're playing and how it relates to the key of the moment, you're going to start not just painting by numbers, but actually playing what you hear. And I know probably everyone in this room has done that. You can do the grip and the sound, and then you start to know the grip well enough that you start to steer the grip by the sound, but you're still contained by the grip, right? You still have your scale pattern that you know, and so you're still in that box. So you can kind of tool around in the box, know what it's going to sound like. But it's still partly the machine of the fretboard telling you what you can play. Can you relate to that? The way to break free from that is to just use one finger against the drum, like this one. When I'm improvising that, maybe you have a little better window. You can maybe hear it a little differently. It's not just random stuff. I'm feeling those things, and my ear's telling me what it wants to hear next. The next note is presenting itself to me. I can relate what I'm hearing and feeling to the fretboard. It can come out on the fretboard, you know. This way, your musicianship, it doesn't matter what instrument. If you play trumpet or piano or cello or mandolin or whatever, that's just kind of how you have to express. But the gravity of notes is universal. If you listen to Aaron Copland or Haydn or Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, or Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen, these people are playing what they're hearing. Okay? And sure, some of Jimmy's stuff, that's an accidental happy coincidence. He's playing that guitar, not the other way around. So So you can play it down home as you want, but if you can actually play it from your hearing rather than just your fingers, it's going to communicate much more. Why? Because music is a deeply human thing. We come together. God knows we need to come together more these days. Perhaps you would agree with me in this. Actual human feel. This AI schlock on the Spotify, don't bandy with it. You know, we're going to need a label like music. No AI used in this at all. No preservatives, no additives, no artificial colors or flavors. Only humans, only Homo sapiens involved in this music. I'm serious. I mean, it's spooky what's going on out there. It's even more important now for us to, like, when somebody's playing, let's show up, you know? They'll be there for you and enjoy this perennially human experience of sharing music, you know? When I've seen Iron Maiden play a bunch of times, and like those guys rock really hard, and it's not about the notes and stuff. It's like there's a feeling that comes across from those guys. For me, I like, I still love you, but there's power there, each to their own. But like, why does certain kind of music really gel with you? Well, because it's expressing a part of your soul, so to speak. Does that make sense? Now, how do you as a musician turn that around so that you're not just consuming what someone else does, but actually connect to music so that you can create from that space? My best answer is what I'm showing you right now. Get to where you can actually feel all the notes in relationship to that drum. You get it? Let's try together and play your. I'm just on the first, and I got the note C down here for a bass. That's just pure and simple presence. Okay? A half step away from that, that's heat. It glides. Like I used to relate to this interval. I had this image of like a hang glider, and you know the hang glider is going over the cliff, and you just see it and it goes shoo, and it takes off. And like the ocean's got a lot of sparkling lights on it down below. It's still in the play of gravity, but it's got some heft. Now we go up a half step. That is such a world away from this. Okay? But really let it in. Another half step up, we have E. So I have my first fret on the first finger on the third fret of the C of the A string. That's a C, and that's my third. Now to get the next one, I can go like this. That's F. Or you can take that C and put it down here. That's cool. Now this also is gliding. It's a little different from this one. This one's a little more. This one, that's your F sharp. And notice how I'm doing that. My second finger is down here on the 8th fret. My first finger is grabbing that F sharp. One more. There's your G. Notice how that power just goes right down to reinforce the root. Right? Watch out now. Half step up from that. That's the. I'm holding the body of my deceased kid or some terrible thing. Okay? Now this A, this is a whole step above the 5. This is a whole step above the root. This one. A little more optimistic about it, I would say. Now this B flat, it wants to go up. It's a whole step away though, so I get a half step. That's sharp. And then a relief. Yeah. Why is that uncomfortable? Well, because I set you up and then I messed with you. See, when you can hear the gravity of it, that's the fun. Like, how fun is it to talk to somebody when you know exactly what they're going to say every time? It's just boring. Now, if you're talking to somebody and you can't tell what they're saying, that's just crazy to me. But an interesting conversation is somebody that you kind of know what they're going to say, but every now and then you really don't. And it's pleasurable. Humor comes. Do you understand? This is relationship, you know? Utter predictability, no. Utter chaos, no. This yin-yang stuff, where's the middle way here, right? So in jazz music, one of the things that's going on is that there are certain gravitational centers that are set up in the tune, and then everybody's, if they're competent, navigating these gravity changes, and then we can just have fun. The fact is, you can play any note at any time, followed by any other note at any other time. If you hear it, totally you can do that. If you can't hear it, it's just kind of like a blind dude like splatting paint around. You can't see. Thank you. So that's kind of what I wanted to make sure I went through. I'm happy to respond to questions or prompts if anybody has them. As I perceive it, the homework is hopefully clear. I know it's a big topic. 9 years together. That's the thing, okay? And it doesn't matter what idiom you play or what genre rocks your boat. It doesn't matter. If you can't hear it in your paint by numbers, you're radically limited. You can train by thinking about and listening to how your body responds to these intervals. Just lock yourself away for a while. Give yourself the gift of listening deeply, trust your body, and take notes. My teacher had me every day write out my emotional responses to each interval for like about a year. I did it every day for about a year. You know what? After about a year, I was crystal clear about how I felt about every one of these pitches. So is it weird if I'm on stage and the horn player goes, "Ah," that I can go, "Ah"? Like, no, it's not weird because you can hear what he's doing. It's not like some human being gets to do that. It's not true. You have all the equipment you need to be able to hear. You just need to know that it's a thing and spend time with it.
Are you staying within the octave, like say you do the C on the bottom, you're only going above, up to the high C, or are you going beyond that?
The actual answer is register it's in. I could have the reference pits up here, let's say. It's the same thing. Each one of those, right? There's my root, there's my fifth. Since the flat three, emotionally, that's the same as this. Or here. Doesn't matter where you play it. Okay. To start, it's easier if you put it underneath. And then there's my two. It's my flat two. It's not wrong, it's just intense. You know, there's a place for like righteous wrath, let us say, in the world. There's certain things. Yeah. Right? Hear the sadness now? That takes you on a journey. It takes me on a journey anyway.
Conflict and resolution, kind of,
Yeah.
it's tension.
It has to do with the gravity centers, and like you do something, you go somewhere away, and then you come back. Different. Any other prompts, please?
So this is interesting. I appreciate this conversation. Recently, what I've been finding is after kind of getting away from the paint by numbers grinder of like, this is what you got to do,
Yeah.
pass and survive. It's like, okay, we're going to drop all the standards and all the chord changes and everything. Let's get familiar with this feeling. And then so feeling clusters of notes, emotions,
Yeah.
kind of as nebula clouds that
Yeah.
change. That's very interesting and enthralling. I can in this kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Now my question is, how do I take that freedom of seeing and kind of step back into say, okay, now we have actually this format where the chord changes aren't what I decide, but we're gonna, let's tell the story together.
Time and place that.
What would be a way to take this practice into the life of like a song with chord changes that you want
I have two pretty
Sure.
different answers to this.
Sure.
One is, if your body is malnourished,
to?
it's going to affect everything you try to do.
Sure.
You aren't going to be able to study, you're not well, you're not going to be able to function at a high level. So if you give the body really strong nutrition,
Sure.
that's going to improve everything to do about you being in a body. If you're weak, everything you do is going to be more difficult because you're weak. If you get some game, the strength will just show up in your daily life. So there's a part of this equation that is, if you immerse yourself and get your ears open, it will naturally just start showing up every time you play.
Sure.
If you make time to play from that place. The answer is, if you want to acclimate to sophisticated harmonies, you actually have to train them. So I want to be able to hear, say, chance, but just check it out. I need to be able to hear the gravitational pull from this to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this. Becomes minor.
So I think inside of that space, the biggest hurdle that I encounter is like there's a lot of possibilities in terms of like string sets and
Triads.
right,
Pick a string set.
contain it to the string set.
You've got to limit the variables
Sure.
or you can't function.
That's right.
Is that's like what we're talking about right now? It's a standard called All the Things You Are, and it's like it's a complicated tune. There's a lot of chords flipping around and stuff. So if you've got a lot of complexity, reduce things to really simple. And I'm going to do on my favorite string set. Okay, and I'm just rocking this to this. Just gonna like be able to actually hear that.
Sure.
And then, okay, so. Maybe you do that for 50 hours. So that you can actually, you've got this one shape, I don't know where it's going, you can drive it by your ear. Then add another. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're overwhelmed, what you have to do is eliminate variables. If it's like this right here is one sound, so you can play all the colors. If you got chords going by, bring it back down to just the triads. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And when you can hear that, well, then you can, you know,
Yeah.
if you've got this, you can have the sevenths.
Yeah.
Right? You just take the triad and add one.
Sure.
And make that go. And then add two.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Others? Please.
If you were gonna think of this same kind of exercise in like a modal set, right? What would be a good checklist to know that you're in a position or prepared to go to that next step of the initial exercise of the clock?
How to move from vamp playing to changes?
Or I'm thinking like being able to apply different modalities, like thinking modally over like using kind of like the Mick Goodrich technique of doing that up and down one string.
Uh-huh.
If you were going to utilize that technique to like build on just the initial idea that we've been talking about here today, that next step.
Well, so for example, you could, if I'm understanding the prompt correctly, I could take this, say I want to get down with the Dorian mode. Okay, that's a defined pitch set. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, natural 6, flat 7. Okay, so what I'm going to do from this gravity perspective is I'm going to just commune with tempo, but I'm ear driven. If I want to do harmonic minor, then I'm just going to kind of like taking a sound bath in that sound, but making sure that I'm actually feeling every pitch. Kind of in isolation, no tempo to worry about. Thanks for coming. There's no tempo to worry about. I'm just studying the feeling of that mode. Does that make sense? And then you put on the play along. Right? Did you get this one? And on and on. Okay, so I'm learning how is a solo in that case to this tune. It's an entrance, but really I don't want to just play it by numbers like it's a riff. I want to be able to feel what it is and then make my own. So if I do, let's see if I can make this one. So. This is all D minor. But vamp playing, but not just noodling. I actually have to emotionally connect with every pitch. So you have to kind of stop letting the fingers drive and like drive from your ear and your heart. Does that make sense? I'm convinced that it's just a ton of time relating to music this way, and the other way just becomes like, it's like I need a shower here. You know, I don't like, it's like I need to brush my teeth. It's getting in my way. Like I don't like how it feels when the machine starts playing me. I don't like it. It feels, but when you're just learning to play, you think you're winning because you're actually sounding like something. So that's fine for a time. And if you're going to go past that beginning time, it's actually kind of a gilded cage.
Is there any albums that you would recommend for somebody just dipping their fingers and toes into the idiom? To go from like a rock to learn. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
That was like kind of blue earlier, right? But is there any?
Well, you know what, for guitar players, this was my trajectory, okay? I started with Angus Young. My dad introduced me to Elvis. That was the Carpets by Otto, that's my dad, Otto. Otto loves Elvis. I loved Elvis. Then my friends at grade school gave me AC/DC. Okay, and that was mine. And then I got into Van Halen and Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Mad Man. I'm aging myself, but that was current then. So then I got into all the British metal, Motorhead, Priest. Maiden, all those guys, okay? And then what happened was, actually, I don't know if you remember, there's this record called Speak No Evil. Died. Ozzy was on the hook for a double live. He had recorded it with Randy, they couldn't release it because it was too weird. So they hired Brad Gillis, who would end up playing with Night Ranger. And Brad, it was like a pickup gig. And Brad had never played in front of that many people, and they did all Sabbath. And why am I telling you this? Well, because that record, I think that's the first jazz record I ever listened to. And why I think that is because when it came time for Brad to solo, he was like, oh shit, what key are we in? And he's just shredding. He's improvising in the spot. Now it's in a language, which is what I was accustomed to at the time. But like Randy would play the exact solo he played on the record live. Because that's part of it. Well,
it was a composed piece for Randy.
Correct. Which is no shade. I mean, it's amazing. But what Brad was doing is he was playing. It turned out that there was a life there. I couldn't identify why. Like the little fills in between and stuff like that. It was not scripted. Brad was hearing that. And it hit me like, with a lot more weight. Then a teacher told me about Alan Holdsworth. You guys know Alan Holdsworth? Yeah, Road Games, Mental Fatigue, IOU, those were all the early records. So those, now he's improvising, right? And so that turned and the chords he was playing, like those kind of, you know. I just spent countless hours trying to get those chords together. I can't remember. Anyway, I can't play it. I got into fusion because of him. And then I won the Jim Hall Jazz Masters Award to Berkeley, and I didn't know who Jim Hall was. And I got a record, and I couldn't relate to it. It was too old sounding for me at the time. It would turn out to be a major important record for me. But what people now, listen to the modern guys first. Don't go try to listen to Louis Armstrong. It's too far away from the kids today. They can't relate to it. Duke Ellington's too far removed. You know what I mean? You kids don't even know who the Beatles was. It's not going to relate to that. But if they let you, like, for example, Kurt Rose, Jonathan Kreisberg, Gilad Hepperman, Tim Miller, these are guys my age, or a little younger, or a little older, but they're kind of this generation. Their music tends to be very relatable because they grew up listening to much of the same stuff I just talked about, let's say.
Kind of like John Schofield started out.
He's the older one. Like Schofield, Matheny, Frizzell, Mike Stern, all those guys, John Abercrombie, Nick Goodrick, those are all like when I was young, those were the older guys that were still current. Now, that's my role. So,
Yeah.
so like I just told my guys here, I introduced them to Kurt Rosenwinkel, like listen to, what's the name of that record, fellas? Is it One Step Ahead or something? Yeah. It's, so like, that's what I recommend. Like the modern guys, Kurt Rosenwinkel and Jonathan Kreisberg. Because that's more accessible. There's a little echo, there's some reverb, there's sweet mix, there's some gumption there when they want it, but it's really in the tradition. Then go back to Schofield, Matheny, Frizzell, Mike Stern, those guys. Then go back to Jim Hall and Joe Hessel, right? If you go backwards like that, it's like you can hear, oh, I see where this came from. Oh, I see where this came from. I see where this came from. If you try to start with Joe Pass, it's too hard for most younger people to relate to it. My opinion. Okay, I'm mindful of our time. Any last query? You know what? Can we get a picture? I'd love to get a picture of everybody with their guitar, and somehow we can do that. Yeah. That'd be just fun. Can somebody be cool and do that? Let's come up on stage with your guitars, or if you don't have a guitar, come up on stage anyway. This will be fun.
I'm gonna take it.
Maybe somebody who doesn't have their instrument.
Oh.
That's a sweet SG.
I don't have a guitar.
Would you take a picture if you don't have your guitar? Yeah. Maybe, well, actually, yeah, maybe.
Jeez. You not? Oh, right by the J Mascis flyer. I'm gonna call it a J Mascis flyer, whether it is or not, I don't really know. Oh no, it's a Jaguar.
I just like stay.
That's Jag.
He's gonna take the work that are power. Man, you should do it. That should work. You got it?
Yeah. Okay, everybody make a cool guitar pose. If you make a cool guitar.
Try this again. Back up a little bit, get everybody. Okay, do your inner Angus. Oh, yeah.
There it is. There it is. All right? Beautiful.
I forgot how to play it as I was playing it. I said I forgot how to play it as I was playing it.
You guys live just the jazz. Dude. Somebody that stopped you.
Golden Road, I mean, there's a jazz Monday.
Let's see this. That's already a nice neck you got.
Yeah, dude, so 23, I actually had the exact version of this, like red.
Right?
Yeah, it's like bigger.
I like
Nice, that's fun.
I like that
That's
this
fun.
one
That's fun.
makes it look like I play it a lot, because this looks like.
Oh, is it? Make sure. If I don't have
No,
email,
it came with just that regular like black paint, the nitro, and I like that. Because it's literally. Where it's like.
When's the time?
I gotta have most of the standards. No, I can pull out the fire. Really? Yeah.
Wow.
Like a.
Something you saw. Oh, that's great, I'm so glad you did that.
Just matter of how much air, like how flat line. Yeah, it's not so like that. Yeah. I'm Scott.
Thank you.
No way. I'm named after my dad. There is two viewers. Honestly, if I'm right, viewers is a head. Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks who has that grief.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, Francis.
Well, some of us. Oh, wow, how about that? 87. That's what they say, 20 years sooner way, what's older young people.
Yeah, that's
I'm glad you came back. Did you get your email? Did I get them all?
three gators betting on
All right, that's just when I gig or be sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, me too. Yeah.
I'm literally gonna walk in you guys.
Yeah, be nice to see you guys.
I got an album, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? What's it, you got an album coming on soon, you say?
Well, yeah, I do, but it's not really a guitar player.
There was a sheet on it always told me to study. Lo and behold, there was a teacher who was smooth guys,
Especially if you like,
I wouldn't be
I
counting.
guess, you know, not like.
Right. But I keep having another static skills. Yeah, I've got to actually, I'm gonna look for one of the free upgrades that I see on the
Last year,
just get that, because I've got. Action is what I'm doing in my life.
It's not easy, it's definitely, I believe that anybody will
Yeah, no, it's like, I'm learning
I'm probably gonna get the thing to make you know.
but that's a.
Oh,
Area. But like, I think actually my buddy and I just annually for the place in Chicago, it's a high five.
Sorry.